Hey everyone. So I failed my very first placement. This is me over with my best friend Leon, who is an amazing person, and this was made 15 months ago. And I'm going to tell you the reason why I failed my first placement. So I'm going to be talking about a project that I'm working on. It's just to help students navigate stress, anxiety and burnout on placement. Put your hand up if you've ever made a mistake on placement. Yeah, amazing. Okay, well I promise you add up all those mistakes and I still come on top. Okay, I'm going to show you why. So this is my first failed placement. It's my feedback from my supervisor that I got at the end, and I was gut-wrenched. So to say that I didn't have any clinical reasoning, I lacked a lot of communication skills, I didn't have any anatomy or physiology in me. And I also made a lot of safety mistakes as well. I forgot to put some bed breaks on some students. Patients. I also forgot to check my 3-point ID, and I treated the wrong patient. And what I also did was I also forgot to I actually mobilized the patient week 1 without the supervisor present. So I have made every single mistake a physiotherapy student could ever make. But I love it because I learned from those mistakes. It's like a tattoo. You learn from it and you just live with it and you just get better and better. You never make the same mistake again. So I finished off with a high score of 36%. And my supervisor had every single right to fail me. Hell, I would even fail myself, to be honest, because I was very unprepared. But there was so much more to my placement beyond what I knew. All the stresses that us students have gone through. So things like navigating the supervisor relationship, feeling overwhelmed with all the feedback that you're getting. There's times where I felt like I really wanted to break down. It was so overwhelming. And in fact, I remember, I'll tell you a story where I was in community rehab. I was prepared for my patient, lovely lady, 60 years old, and I had my assessment treatment ready to go, green light from the supervisor, and then I absolutely botched it, right? I stuttered. I didn't know, I froze. And so we both came back into the car and he was like, "Dean, what's up? Thought you had it under control." And I just broke down crying. I broke down crying, man. And I've broken down so many times on placements, it's ridiculous. Because the stress got to me. I was doing long hours, 10-hour days. Last one to leave the hospital, no one even really knew. I would do evenings, weekends. I said no to friends and family, and I neglected a lot of my physical health, and I didn't eat right as well. So it's really mentally exhausting. And so this is also highlighted in studies as well, where if we have a look, there's some studies where we looked into physiotherapy students, we highlighted their stresses, and we found out that a lot of it came down to navigating the supervisor relationship, workload, complex patients, and adapting to self-learning and assessment. But also the personal stresses as well that go with being what a physiotherapy student is. What we talk about is health issues, family, lack of self-compassion. We've all been there, you know what I'm talking about. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to create a resource to help students navigate placements better and get away from the stresses. So what I wanted to do was, this was my process. I looked at the research out there, what stresses affected students. Then what I did was I liaised with my stakeholders, physio students, supervisors. I asked them whether these topics were relevant. Asked them if they were appropriate. Were they effective? And then I went into some filming and editing. So I just used my Sony camera and I hopped on with the editing software called CapCut. And so this is what I made. So I made a YouTube series called Calming the Clinical. It's everything a physiotherapy needs to know to navigate the common challenges that we face. So things like navigating the hospital environment, chatting to MDT, what to do if your supervisor is giving you a hard time, what the APP looks like, how to do well in the APP. I didn't even really understood my role as a physio or how the APP worked until my 4th placement. We also look at things like, should you study or relax after placement? Is it worth cramming those extra hours? Because you don't want your supervisor to catch you on things that you don't know. I was scared of that most of the time. I was also scared of failing again. But I did everything in my power to not make that happen. And so I made some 9 videos, and this is a little snippet of what one of my videos looked like.
My name is Dean, I'm a soon-to-be graduate physiotherapist, and today I'm going to be talking to you about how to handle the pressure from your supervisor in the middle of assessing and treating a patient. There's 3 pressures that are going to be affecting you. The first one being pressure from yourself as a physio student who is acting as a physio. Second pressure is coming from your supervisor who is marking you and watching you the entire time. And the third pressure is from the patient. I want you to change your mindset to be like, yes, my supervisor is there, yes, they're marking me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to really try and put on a show and impress them with what I know. So what does that look like? Now, I would also, when doing these assessments as well, it's important to take some deep breaths when you're doing it. That really helped me, just to be in the moment and be present. But when I was using the gurney, assessing knee range of motion, I would literally look at my supervisor and tell them, hey, I'm putting the fulcrum at the lateral epicondyle. So I would be expressing to them everything that I'm doing. Okay? So why you're doing the test, what you're looking out for, and to see if there's any abnormal findings on that test. You vocalize it, because your supervisor doesn't know what you're thinking. As obvious as things are, just say it for the sake of it, so that you're covering all bases.
Yeah, so all these videos that I made, they were based on my own experiences, and also chatted to a lot of supervisors about what they wanted from their students. So the benefits of Calming Clinical video series is that it's completely free, it's accessible on YouTube, it helps foster that sense of community as well. Being on placement, it's isolating, it can get lonely. You know, you can't really reach out to your friends and family because they don't know what you're going through. Your supervisor, you can't ask them because they're going to expose you for your weaknesses. And you can't really ask your physiotherapy friends. You can, but it's more general advice because every single placement is different. So I'm just helping bridge that gap between theory and placement. Now, some future development that I could also take with this is being on the LMS. So things, and reaching out to clinical schools as well. I could also open up that talk between students and supervisors to help create that safer environment. And I could even also expand to other allied health professionals, because I'm pretty sure that OTs, doctors, podiatrists, dietitians, they are all experiencing exactly what we go through. And so, to finish off, it's been a 15-month journey for me, man, since my first placement. And these are all pictures of my supervisors that I have loved and adored. Okay? And I have learned so much from them. From every single supervisor that I'm with, you just take a little piece of them and a little piece of that, and you add it and you make it your own. And so, I went from that kid who mobilized a patient first week without any supervisor and failing, from a 38% to finishing off with a high 94% to feeling a part of the team. And so I took that L and I made it that W. Yeah. And it's been crazy. It's been crazy. So 15 months. But my whole idea is that I just want to make it easier and better for other physiotherapy students to navigate those common challenges so that they can do better than me. Because if I can come through this, really anyone can. All right, thank you.
As a fellow content creator,
Thank you, man.
I'm just wondering, like, out of interest, how long did it take you to edit it? Because I know how much work goes into editing.
Yeah, it took like 2 weeks to edit those videos. So I made 9 videos, about 20 minutes each, and I wanted to make it look pretty, subtitles, sounds, and video, color grading, all stuff that I didn't really know. So it took me about 2 weeks for 9 videos.
Did you do all the subtitles yourself?
No, luckily there's an auto generation tool, right? But I still had to make some little edits because it doesn't pick up every single word. Great question though. Yeah. Yes, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Great.
From that end of the first placement, what did you then change, or what did you do to be able to get all this knowledge that you kind of acquired early on the placement?
Great question. So after finding that first placement on 34%, looking back, I didn't know what I was doing. And so I actually hired out a tutor that cost me $100 an hour, right? And for the next 2-3 months. His name's Marcus, and he's amazing. And he helped me a lot. I also, physiotherapy students over here know that I was reaching out to you guys, trying to figure out how to navigate the APP. I relied a lot on my friends and my support network. They kept me grounded. Yeah, so thank you to them. Jordan?
I feel like it's pretty commonly understood that like a good supervisor can make or break placement, and can be pretty frustrating. How would you say with your first placement, obviously there's an element of how prepared the student is, but how do you think your supervisor could have better facilitated your learning, potentially helped you get a better grade?
Yeah, that's a great question. I feel that there's a lot of supervisors who are out of touch with what it's like to be a student, and we've all been there. Someone who's been 10 years in, and they're expecting us to know as much as they do within the first week. So I'd love for supervisors to have a realistic expectation of what to expect for their students to have. Because I've been felt bad for things that I didn't know, and I was like, oh, okay, sorry, my bad. I didn't know this, and it decreases your confidence. So I'd love for supervisors to just be in our shoes again. And when we all become supervisors, just remember that you might have a kid like me that you're taking care of. Just know that it's just their first placement. So yeah, great question. Tia?
Do you think, on that, would there be capacity in the future to make almost like a version of this, but for supervisors? Because I know that all of them have been in our shoes as a student, but collectively everyone might have a story of making also a good supervisor, and it happens usually way too often. Do you think that there's capacity for a resource to be put in?
For supervisors, on how to how to be a good supervisor?
Yeah.
And that's the thing, for future direction, I'd love to open up that space with supervisor and student, so we can have those discussions to be like, oh yeah, true, student feels this. So maybe there are ways that I can better navigate teaching them. And the thing is, they're not teachers, they didn't learn to teach, they're just everyday people. So I think trying to give them the tools to learn how to teach would be really beneficial, in my opinion. Yeah, it's a skill. It's a skill to teach. Yeah, great question.
In the interest of time, you can ask me more questions later on in your morning tea, but we might have to let you go.